You may wonder what the secret behind our success is. Our loyal clients, obviously. Fantastic people. I feel kind of sorry about killing them.
Welcome on in. So this is a fun game called Ravenous Devils that is kind of fitting to the season, seeing as I'm uploading this around about Halloween time. But it's essentially a management sim, just with a rather dark twist, as you will have probably guessed from that intro. The idea behind this is quite simple. You are killing the clients in the tailoring business in order to cook them for your pub. The game loads straight in after the intro into kind of basic instructions on how we play the game. So it takes you through the point and click kind of aspect that once you've got a corpse, you have to put it in the trapdoor, you drop it down, and then this is where the wife takes over and she picks up the corpse, which fair play to her. She doesn't look like she's got that much muscle on her, but these bodies look like they weigh a lot, and she is still managing to pick them up, carry them on over, and drop them in the mincer. Pleasant. This game does not resist the gore, but it goes for the easy gore, so there's just a lot of blood splatter in pretty much everything that you do. Takes you through the fact that there's a recipe book, so you can either at this point make pies or like mince patties essentially, and it teaches through the options. Now obviously you just have to kind of disassociate your brain from the fact that you're cooking human mincemeat, or I did anyway, and just treat this as a cooking sim. So you collect the ingredients, you put them on the tray, then you pick up the tray and you carry that to the oven, and that is the food cooked. As you can see, kind of everywhere you click is blood, and she seems to have no issue with the fact that her kitchen is essentially a blood splattered mess. She seems to be absolutely fine with it, if I'm honest. And then you wait for the pie to cook. Once you collect the pie from the oven, which does take a little while, I'm just going to say that now. Also, in the intro tutorial bit here, you have to click through all the dialogue to be able to do stuff. It's great that they gave a tutorial and an introduction, but it did seem to feel like it was taking quite a bit of time. But this is where you learn that anything that you cook has to go up to the display stand. Up here, you pop it on, and that gives you supplies. And as you can see in the top left-hand corner, it teaches you that you've now got 3 out of 3. So the display is full and people would be able to come in. And then it takes you back up with the second part of kind of what you've got to do with this management sim, which is the husband's jobs. So it's really important that he cleans up all the blood from murdering his clients, and that the place is always clean, because obviously if someone came in and found all the blood in his business, that would be an issue. The kitchen being covered in blood, apparently not a big deal. And then that you must make clothes for the display mannequin at the front of the shop, which is how they make their money. And again, as I said in the tutorial, it kind of talks you through all of this. Click through as fast or as slow as you want, but it is very simple to pick up the elements of this game. You have the tailor upstairs, the pub in the middle, which is serviced by the kitchen down at the bottom, and when you get into the gameplay, you will be trying to run all of those elements all at once, which makes it a little bit more complicated, and also just the fun kind of premise of what you're doing makes it just a little bit interesting and a little bit different. If you've ever been on this channel before, you know that one of the things I love more than anything in a management sim is where they give you an interesting story to go on it. Anyone could have given us a kitchen and a tailor's, but the fact that these are connected, that there's a Sweeney Todd element kind of to it, and that we are essentially murdering our clients, I don't know, it makes it a little bit more fun for me. Once you do open up the businesses for trade, you see that customers come in. So the people that come in on the shop, the first thing they do down at the pub here is they take the pies, and you'll see again at the top left that your recipe, like the number of pies available, start to drop. And you don't want that to kind of go below 0, because that means no one's going to be able to eat. And if they can't eat, then they get really grumpy and their reputation can affect the shop. So it's important that you do it. And also you will see customers come into the tailor shop who again will buy clothes off the mannequin. So it's really important that you keep the mannequin full. And I mean, it's an easy premise to understand, but that is the important thing here, is making sure that you always have food to sell in the pub and you always have mannequins dressed within the tailor shop. Also, it lets you know a client is on the way to be measured. Now, this business model leaves me some questions because it appears through the gameplay that they essentially kill every client that enters their business. Because this is what it's telling you to do. Like, I was just letting him measure it because I didn't understand. But no. Kill the client. Brutally stab the client in the face. YouTube's probably going to ban me for this. But anyway, it's fun, it's silly, you pick up the corpse, you drop the corpse, and the circle continues, and it's kind of his job up here in the tailor shop to make sure that A, you have enough clothes to make clothes for the mannequin, but also B, that you have enough meat for the kitchen downstairs, because if he's not killing people, we're not doing our job. One thing I did notice is that killing someone only gets 1 lot of clothes, but it does get 2 lots of mints. Now, I imagine later on the recipes might start taking more mints, and that's why that would become an issue. But definitely earlier on, you do end up with a lot more mints than you do clothes. So it is something to think about. Because I was kind of like, oh, we don't really need to kill anyone. But the game pretty much, especially at this early stage, is insisting that we kill at least 3 people, and you just kind of work your way through it. So you pick up a rhythm pretty quickly of what everyone's got to be doing, making sure that everyone's got a job and everyone's doing their part. It is a little bit hard to kind of get your hand around at the beginning because you have to click on each ingredient and then do it, and they don't have like a job queue, so you can't kind of store up objectives and make them go mince, then flour, then thing. Every time you have to do it individually. Now here, I didn't kill this person straight away because I was reluctant because there was somebody else outside the shop. I assume, though the game never directly tells you, that killing someone when someone's in the shop would be a bad idea. Killing all of your clients seems to me like a bad idea, but the game doesn't seem to really have an issue with it. And as you can see, we've run into one of our first kind of little problems here in that there's no pies on the pie tray. We've got customers waiting for food. They're not very happy. So it's really important. You can see that the little bar above the guy at the bottom there has gone to yellow. It's really important that we get them their food in time so that they're happy and they don't leave us a negative kind of review of the place. So it becomes clear to me quite early on, the pub is the busier element of the business. And it's more important that we keep the pub fed and that there's food everywhere than it is with the clothing thing, because the clothing seems to get a lot less customers, just from what I was observing. Now, that might change later in the game, but definitely earlier on, that is how it feels, that the important factor is to keep the food supply. But as I said, 1 lot of mincemeat, 1 lot of flour, 1 pie serves 3 people, whereas the clothing, only 1 clothing serves 1 customer, and you only get 1 clothing per dead person. So it definitely does seem to be kind of leaning towards the cooking being the main element and the main thing to make you money. Again, I really wanted the tailor to have the mannequin dress so that we could make money, even though we had a client in. And this is where it really annoys me. So you can't stack multiple things at once because there was no tray there because the tray's in the oven. And that annoyed me. And this client left. This client got measured and left, and I didn't kill them. I come to regret that later because obviously the objectives is there. But as you can see, we're now struggling. So because she's got the mince, she couldn't pick up the pie. And again, that's just a bit of a learning curve that you'll learn yourself. But now we've got unhappy customers upstairs because we may not serve them in time. And it does become a quick problem, and you can be kind of annoyed by it because the oven just never seems to be quick enough at this early stage. And also, just like I said, the fact that she can't seem to queue up and do multiple jobs at once does frustrate me a little bit. There should kind of be a job queue, but I get it because it keeps you on your toes. Like right now in the shop upstairs, we have a client coming in. We also, at the same time, have somebody coming to shop for clothes. So yeah, you've got to kind of keep your game on and keep understanding what's happening. And like I say, if you click the wrong button, so she picks up the tray, you can't then do that, and then you can't make the pie. And yeah, maybe it's my skill more than the game's fault, to be fair, but I found it a little bit overwhelming on the first playthrough. But as the gameplay develops, you do pick up the rhythm, you start to figure out the order in which to click and how long it's going to take her to walk from A to B, and it does become a little bit easier. as you can see, we're still just kind of working our way through the objectives from this kind of tutorial gameplay or the first mission, just to make sure we've understood the basics and got everything sorted. And it is one of those things that just naturally becomes easier with time. Again, letting that client work out earlier meant that I couldn't complete this as quick as I should have been, because he had been there. I should have been able to kill him. But now we can see that we are waiting for a client to arrive at the tailor's because we've completed all of the other objectives. It doesn't take long, thankfully. It just takes a few minutes for one to arrive, seconds, sorry. And then we've got someone, but I use that time just to kind of start preparing, getting another pie in, getting another thing on the mannequin, and then realizing all I had to do was the nice little kill of the client. I went ahead and stabbed her. We then get to kind of dip into a bit of the story, so starting over is never easy, and we learn that we're able to upgrade our equipment, which, let me tell you, after the oven not really doing its job, made me very happy. But the upgrades are quite expensive and we don't make that much money, but it teaches you where to go to the upgrade menu and what you can choose to upgrade to, so you can go through all your options. So you can upgrade the steaks, you can upgrade sausages, but like when you click on it, if you don't have enough money, it's basically telling you, hey, you can't afford that. And it also shows you what you've already got. You can get another workbench, you can get another oven. Again, we couldn't afford the oven, we couldn't afford the oven speed. So I had a look at kind of what all the options were, and in the end I chose the workbench because that means I can have two kind of things on the go at once. It probably wasn't the smartest move, as that was all my money, and I probably should have had a look through and decide what else I wanted to get.
Blood everywhere.
Also, you notice during this time that you do have a little bit of downtime. You don't have to open your shop straight away, and it's a really good time to kind of get the prep work done. So I use the opportunity to get them grinding the meat. I also use the opportunity to get the clothes on the mannequin to make sure the shop's clean. And yeah, sometimes you can press the open shop button a little bit too quickly, just because you're keen to make money, but it is good to use that downtime to make sure you're fully stocked. And I think later in the game, as the game develops, that's definitely going to become a factor to pay more attention to. Once you're happy and you know you've got everything you need, you can kind of go ahead and move on and open the shop, which I will do shortly. But again, I'm just doing prep, basically, because, you know, I find that important. Here we open the shop and we're waiting for clients, and we just kind of play through a whole of the day here with me trying to get the rhythm right and trying to keep my customers happy. It is very similar to what you've just already seen, so we are just going to kind of skip ahead in the story here. And we move on here to near the end of the day, and as you can see up in the right hand corner, you get a little notification that that's going to be your last clients of the day, the people that are currently in the business. So you know the day's about to end, which means you can do some prep work, but it also means you know that you don't have to be rushing around to make sure all the servers are full. And this is where we get our first report, so we get told basically whether the day was good or bad. That's kind of included in the, you know, if the orders went yellow or red. So if your food wasn't ready on time for your customers, that's when it becomes important, because that's what you're going to miss out on. And this is where I then choose to spend the money I've earned on a table. Now, I actually think this is a mistake. Wouldn't recommend going down this route, because the table was way more than I could handle this early on. But it talks you through how the table works. And basically, this is customers who can come in and sit in your pub and order food that way. So she's going to take down their orders. You will then have to cook to order rather than just having the pie stand ready. And you have to be more attentive. As I say, I feel like this was an error, because it actually makes me really struggle with the day that I have to play through, because getting their order ready and keeping the pie stand full became quite difficult with only one oven, and when the oven itself was quite slow. So there's definitely other upgrades I could have done before I moved on to this one. Taking you through tutorial here, they just basically tell you that you need to cook the mincemeat into a burger because they really want a burger. And again, we know how to cook, so it's not too complicated. And once the burger is ready, you just take it upstairs, pop it on their table, and the customer eats it. Obviously, the quicker you get it to them, the more satisfied they are, and the better reputation or grade you're going to get from those particular customers. It does tell you here that the priority should always be those customers on the table, not the customers at the pie stand, because they're going to affect our reputation more. And this is where, again, I go through a little bit of the prep work to make sure we're ready to go. As you can see, my pie stand is mostly empty, so I need to make sure that I get my pie stand up and ready, because I want to know that when my customers are coming in, they've got food to eat. So I set her to work. Again, I end up focusing a lot more on the pub than I do on the tailors, just because it feels to me like the tailor's workload is nowhere near as urgent, whereas it does definitely feel like the pub is a much more high demand area, that it's a lot harder to keep all the clients happy. So you do kind of end up being heavily focused on the pub. Not saying that's a bad thing, it just doesn't feel even at this point in the game with the amount of time we're playing on the two. But my pie is ready. I pop it on the stand down here because I want to make sure I sell the one that's upstairs before I fill it. And then using the fact that I've got these workbenches, I decide to kind of pre-prep food.
We moved here not long ago. No one should know us. Who may have sent this? Did you tell anyone about our departure?
Silence. Let me read. God, someone knows our secret.
Now, personally, I think they reacted really calmly to someone know that they're cooking and selling human-based meat products in their pub and killing all of their clients. However, they seem genuinely really calm about it. Turns out the letter actually seems to be quite flattering, and that the person wants to work with them. So they kind of make the decision to just leave it alone and see what happens. Again, it's a weird reaction to me. If someone sent me a letter saying they know about my criminal activities, not that I have any, but if someone sent me a letter being like, hey, I know what you're up to, I don't know that I'd react quite as calmly as they do, but they genuinely seem not only quite chill about it, but looking to turn it into a business opportunity based on the tone of the letter. The person in the letter seems to want to give them a reward. Now, the lady's a bit more savvy. She's like, I don't trust this. I don't trust this at all. The guy's like, really, what choice do we have? You don't want to leave. We're stuck here. I guess we're just going to wait this out. Which, I don't know. You tell me in the comments if you were propositioned by a random person who seemed to know your every move and your very deep, dark secret about your business. Would you be quite so calm and quite so, yeah, let's just see what happens. Maybe we'll make some money out of this. Because I don't think I would be. I'm just going to put it out there. I really don't. But we move on. We move on and we open the shop and we get ready for business for the day. And again, you've seen me run the business. Like I said, the table does make it a little bit more interesting. I do struggle a little bit, but for the sake of all of us, we're not going to watch all of that through at full speed. What I will probably do is skip through it for you at quite high speed and let you see some of what happens. So as you can see, the shop opens up and yeah, sadly the game doesn't move this fast, but you get the idea. We fill the stands, we pop everything in, we get the oven going, we get the mincer going. Now from opening the shop, it does take a little while for customers to actually come in, so she does have a bit of time. We do fill up the stands, get everything ready, and then we get our first kind of customers everywhere, and everything kind of runs smoothly at first, but we do have our first customers on the table, so she needs to go up and do that. He's also got to dress the mannequin, got to kill someone. At the same time, she's trying to take orders at the table, and it's an order for a burger, but then he's also trying to clear the floor, and then she's cooking and serving the burger. Thankfully, we already had that pre-cooked, so that did really help, but now we've realized that we're out of pies, so now we have to go make pies for our customers, and as you can see, the customers in the pub are getting a little bit grumpy about our lack of pies, so it's important we get the pies done on time, but we get a bit distracted mincing some people up, so then we go try and get the pies up there, and we get our first kind of angry customer walking away there who wasn't very happy with our business. But you know, the day moves and we do manage to sort of get through everything that's happening, and we progress through and we get another table order and we have to carry on and carry on. As our last clients of the day kind of clear out of the shop, we get our report for the day, and you can see we've had 2 bad orders because we had customers leave without the pies that they wanted. We also find here that we can actually read the letter sent to us. Obviously, feel free to pause if you want to. This letter is just telling that they know their secret, they're intrigued, and they may be doing some meals to order from them, which is essentially what it sets up the premise of, that they have particular people they want them to kill and cook, which, you know, just when you think the game couldn't get any weirder, it managed to get a little bit weirder, I'm not gonna lie to you. So we now know that this new friend is actually a little bit on the dodge side and wants us to kill people to order. We also have a quick look at what upgrades we can afford, and we can't afford many, but we do upgrade the oven speed so that those pies will cook a little bit quicker. We do all of our prep work, and we get the shop open to trade for another day.
People will like this.
As the next day comes to an end, we're kind of ready, and once again we get our report. We didn't miss any customer orders this time, but we did get a second letter, and this letter is identifying our first client. Apparently a young and greatly committed businessman who is going to be our first serve to order customer. How do we feel about that? I don't really know, but it's an interesting way for the story to progress, and I'm intrigued by it. We do a bit of prep work here, and then once again we open up our shop. We do have a much better rhythm down. I've also decided at this point not to do any upgrades because I really want to buy the second oven with the money, and we need £40 for that. So I really want to kind of work towards the £40. So I chose not to do any more upgrades. We have got a better rhythm. The faster oven is helping. And in general, it seems like everyone's quite happy. As I said, I find the tailor business a lot easier to run, but the tailor is out of cloth because he hasn't had anyone to kill, which is a little bit sad. We wait for the first client to come in and clear the pie rack, fill up the pie rack, and I've learned now to use those workbenches and to have food pre-cooked and ready to go on the workbench is really helpful in the prep stage, because it means there's always someone to eat, and also that no client leaves this place, so everybody will apparently get murdered. I don't really get why this is not raising suspicious, because every person who comes into the business to get measured gets killed, yet no one seems to be blinking an eye. As you can see, we've moved through the day here, and we're on the last clients of the day, and we have quite a big pile of dead bodies because, as I explained earlier, she doesn't really run out of mints in the kitchen as quickly as he runs out of clothing, so he's having to kill a lot more people than she actually needs for the food in order to maintain the tailor business, which I don't think is how it's supposed to work. But as this day does draw to an end, we get our first kind of cut scene, and we are introduced to a dapper gentleman that I am pretty sure is going to turn out to be the gentleman in question that we are being ordered to serve up to our suspicious letter writing client. Now, I wasn't expecting company to come, but I think the reason that they do it this way is because we see a little bit about this person, Mr. Elliot Carson, and well, let's be honest, if you read the text here, he doesn't come across as a very nice person. He's very up himself, he's very smug, and he treats his acquaintance there like absolute shit. So I absolutely feel morally better about the fact that at some point in this game, we're going to have to kill this guy. However, I will just say it's still a bit weird that that's what this game is doing. So with the gentleman left and us planning our murder, I don't know why we let him leave and didn't just kill him. I don't know. I'm guessing it's important to the story. We realize that we finally have enough money to get that double oven upgrade, which makes me very, very happy, because I really am going a little bit crazy over here with the single oven operation that we've been having to work with. And I'm really grateful to get that upgrade and get a second oven. And that is where we're going to end for today. If you've enjoyed this, if you want to see more of it, please let me know. Thank you very much.